Welcome to another episode of the Terri and Frank Show. If you've been following us, then you know we're doing a series on belonging. This is going to be our third episode. And before we get into this third episode, why don't we do some quick introductions? Terri, why don't you kick it off?
Hello, my name is Terri Mays, and I'm a certified culture engineer. My focus primarily is helping companies bring out the best in their people.
Yeah, hi, I'm Frank Monner. I'm the founder of People Productive. We help companies create cultures where the people and company thrive together. That means they can use all these human factors that we talk about as tools to build an incredible workplace. So, this is our third episode on belonging. The first episode was very important because it talks about what is belonging. And I don't think people think about that very often. And the second episode talked about the beginnings of creating a sense of belonging. So we're going to dig deeper into that today. It's a good series. And let me start with sharing something, actually, which I think sets the stage for you to maybe think about belonging in a somewhat different way. Now, many, many living things do belong. Now, here you can see a tree with a deep, deep sense of belonging. It's taken root. It's found an environment it loves. It's found great soil. This is your culture, that soil and environment that the people are working in. And you really want an environment where people are putting down deep roots so that they become part of your environment. They start to thrive there along with everyone else. This is a thriving tree. You can see it's getting everything it needs. And this is a great way to think about belonging because you want to be able to actually mimic this with your people and have a culture where people really do put down roots and stay. So with that as a backdrop, why don't we get into this, Tara? So that tree, landed there. It was a seed at one point, and it actually took root. It found that was just the perfect location. It took root, and then as it took root, it got everything it needed. And what would that be on the human side? What happens? Let's talk about that.
Yes, so that's really important to think about from a culture perspective. The roots really are planted deeply in that soil, and that's what's allowing the tree to grow so tall. And that's really synonymous with it's really synonymous with the culture in an organization and how people are able to thrive or not thrive because they are in bad environments. And so a lot of times we see that beautiful tree and you focus on, the flourishing organization, or you'll see the cost and you see that the company is making a lot of money, but it's really because of the deep roots where people have really bought into the vision and the purpose of the company, that they really care about the work that they're doing and they know that people care about them. Those are all things that make companies more or the culture in the company, I should say, more inclusive, makes people feel like they belong, where people are accepted. And all of those things make for stronger trees and deeper roots.
Yeah, fantastic. Very well said. So let's take a look at that tree in terms of Maslow's hierarchy. What do you think?
Yes, I think so. I think it's a nice segue because as the tree is growing, it's because all of the tree's needs are being met. So it's being nourished. All of the things that the tree needs. And I don't know a whole lot about gardening, so I can't really make too many comparisons. But you've got the water, you've got the soil, you keep the weeds out. You bring in the fertilizer. All of those things are necessary in order for that tree to stay healthy and grow. And the same thing happens with people and culture. You've got to have all the building blocks in order for the people to thrive in that environment. And so I think this is a great image to show that.
Yeah, and we could say for sure that, when you move up to this third level belonging, this is where the roots start to grow and take hold. If you're below level 3, down at safety or even survival, which is this active disengagement, you're just struggling to survive. Right. You're not going to put down roots in that environment at all, right? You want to move on and find a great place to take root. Any tree or individual, right, that's at level 3 and starting to thrive, if something happens that pushes them down to level 2, those roots are going to start to fail. They're going to
Right.
pull in. They're not going to be getting the nutrients. The tree's not going to be able to thrive as well. Either are the people. So
Right.
level three is really starts with this sense of caring, like, oh, they actually care about me, and for that tree, it's the environment is there, it's getting the nutrients and everything. For a person, it's that they know you, they recognize you, and they show they care, which means there's some compassion, there's empathy, just general caring concern. People know and understand your base kind of mood. They could tell if things aren't going as well, um, and they'll inquire, say, how you doing? And, if you want a tree to have roots like that, um, you want it to be in the perfect environment. For a person, you want to nurture them, right? You want to coach them and grow them so that they feel like they're in a place where they're going to succeed. And then the roots really, really do start to take hold and grow. So we could talk about
Right.
this third level here today, Tara, which is very important. This is where that belonging emerges and people start to work together because they're all in it
Right.
together. They all belong.
Right. And it's not so much focused on me, myself, and I in that survival mode. You don't want people there because all they're doing is there for the money. They're there for the money. They don't really care about the vision and the purpose of the organization because they feel like the organization doesn't care about them. You want people in that lane of feeling like they belong and they're accepted because now you've got people that will support each other when people need help. They'll be willing to ask for it, first of all, because they feel safe enough to ask for help. And then, secondly, they know that their coworkers are going to jump in and help, that they're going to offer that assistance without making them feel bad or feeling like they're not good enough or they're not smart enough or any of those negative behaviors. They're
Mhm.
going to be more willing to help, more willing to spend overtime working on something to make sure that it's done and it's done
Yeah,
well. People will,
absolutely. Caring is reciprocal, right? You care
yeah,
about
they'll
me, I
bring
care about
in,
the company and its business.
yeah, they'll give their extra reserves when
Mhm.
they feel like that company really cares about them. Everybody has those extra reserves where,
Mhm.
you can give more, you can do a little bit more, but you have to feel safe in an environment where you know that people accept you and they care about you and they want you there. That's another thing that whole diversity, equity, and inclusion says, I really want you there. I want you here. I want you
Yeah.
part of this, to be part of this
You're a
team.
valuable part. You're going to be
That's right.
included. You're valuable here. We care about, what you think. So
That's
we
right.
move from beyond caring, we start to get into belonging, this little b belonging, because everything that happens affects the overall state of belonging, right? But let's talk
Right.
about those first behaviors that happen in an environment where you've moved from caring. Oh, this is great. My phone's going. Um, I'm going to let it go. By the way, this is terrible, but my cable line got cut yesterday.
Yes.
So this could be them calling.
Yes. We have
No,
been
it's not.
having fun with the Frank and Terry show, trying
Oh
to look
God, I'm
around
doing
and
this
see.
cable over my phone. I'm in a different location than normal, and it's working. Oddly enough, right? Kind of
Yes.
comical. And this guy's
Yes.
having fun too. He's in
Yes.
here, deep sense of belonging. Um, but anyway, as we move into this belonging, then we see this inclusion, right? We see
Right.
that people are
Right.
accepted immediately for who they are. They're part of the
Right.
team, they become one. And these are all different root strands that start going down into that soil
That's
and
right.
have them take root in that company. Friendship goes beyond just inclusion acceptance. It's, hey, wow, we're going down to, grab some lunch today. You want to come with us, right?
Right. Right.
More friendly, stopping by, seeing how they're doing, getting to know what's happening with them, their family, and their lives, right? Learning more about them, maybe, communicating outside of work on stuff, right? Start to find
Right.
things in common. These all really drive a sense of belonging.
Right.
Um,
And you see a lot of times where people will just be kind to each other. The
mhm.
whole atmosphere. So we've talked about vibe before, but the
Yeah.
vibe in the company is just one that's upbeat. People are
Mhm.
happy, they're friendly. they are kind to each other,
Yeah.
as opposed to you walk in a room and you see that people are just angry and they're yelling and screaming at each other and they're not playing nice together. Those are all signals that this corporate environment, that this root system is not deep. So
Yeah.
the way that you get around that is to look for those environments where you see the people cooperating. You see the people
Yeah.
working well together. Those are all signals that people feel like they belong, that they are accepted.
Yes. Cooperative behaviors. We're all in this together. That
Yes,
creates a sense of belonging. Hey, you're struggling, helping behaviors.
yes,
Or I know a lot of information that you could use. I'm not going to protect it. I'm going to share it with you. Those sharing behaviors,
right,
little acts of kindness that people do,
right.
to think about you. They're thoughtful. These are things that all help grow the roots. And we're going to
Right.
dig into a lot of other things that will take the roots even further down and grow a bigger set of roots, because you can have an incredibly deep sense of belonging for everybody, and you should. And every worker and leader is responsible for making sure the roots are growing. That's my opinion.
That's right. That's right. It's up to the leadership to set the tone. So people are going to take their cue from you as a leader. They're going to look to
Yes.
you to see what kind of behaviors are you exhibiting, and then they're going to do the same thing. So you see that we've all been in those environments where you've seen that leader that's the dictator. He's
Yeah.
constantly just barking out orders, or she's just do it my way or the highway kind of leader. And those leaders produce more leaders like themselves. So you end
Yeah.
up seeing people that get promoted that are not good people managers, but they get promoted because that they have that same leadership style. And this is just not healthy. It really doesn't produce the best out of people. It does not help people bring their reserves to the table. So you want to create those environments where people are caring towards each other. And those
Yeah.
are just, some of it is just common decency, like some
Yeah.
things are just being a kind human, just being courteous to each other and
Yeah.
not yelling and screaming at each other. There are some people that thrive in those kind of chaotic environments, but then there are others, and myself included, where I just kind of shut down in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
I really don't want any parts of it.
Wow. Is this a comedy episode?
I know.
This is so crazy because having the cable cut, I got to tell you, it has been so frustrating, right? Because everything that you depend on, all that high speed stuff,
Right.
I really can't go down. I have a little recording studio down in the basement. So, this is my wife desperately trying to get me to remind
Yes.
me about something, but I will call her back right after the show. She's going to go crazy.
Yes.
You know, this is hysterical. But
Yes. But I think it's a time for our audience to show some caring.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes this show isn't always going to be just this perfectly curated
yeah,
show, and
the
that's
real
kind of
world.
the way we want it. It's the real world.
This is the
Things
real
happen.
world. This is what's happening. And, we're going on in spite of the fact there's some difficulties, we're carrying on. And,
Yes.
in a world of remote work, everybody gets it. This stuff happens.
Right. Everybody gets it.
Everybody
That
gets
is
it.
for
This
sure.
is this is the real world. Things are going on that make it a little imperfect at times, and that's okay.
Yes.
I think it's super important that people realize culture is an intentional thing, because good cultures are an intentional thing. Every
Absolutely.
company has a culture. So everything that spawns a culture is happening in every company every day. They all have a culture. The ones who really want to build a great culture do it intentionally. And this is caring is one of those things you kind of can't fake. If you've hired a group of leaders who just are totally self-interested and don't know how to care about people in their own life, let alone work, they're not
Right.
going to be able to fake it. They're just not. It's always going to look like it's struggle when they call the show they care about you. It's not going to be sincere.
Right.
And so,
People have to have those genuine relationships, right?
yeah,
So something that genuinely connects them to each other and then causes them to want to spend time together, to learn more about each other. So
yeah,
it can be a struggle in the beginning. It can be awkward getting to know people and trying to build that focus and attention on each
big
other,
time.
but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it to get past that awkward stage.
Yeah, big time. So listen, next week we're going to start getting into vulnerability and why that's so important ultimately to deepening the root system. And we're going to move on from there to people's achievement needs. And we'll start looking at Maslow and what happens at different levels. And I think you're going to find this really, really interesting. So I hope you enjoyed the
Yes.
episode. We try to keep these relatively short, and I'm going to bail given what's going on, honestly.
Yes. And hopefully next week you'll have cable again.
You're supposed to be here between 12 and 2. So God, I hope so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
listen,
All right.
absolutely fabulous. Another great episode. Thanks for putting up with this. Great patience. And
Yes. Thank you. We appreciate everybody watching.
yeah, big time. The comedy episode on belonging.
Yes.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.